Another episode of Hard Questions, Simple Solutions. What up, Tommy?
What's up, Adam? Oh my goodness, man. What isn't up these days? I tell you, the weather's changing. It's driving me nuts. I can't wait for spring. I'm already in spring. Let's go.
Terrible, man. You got to enjoy this. You got to embrace the hard life. Have a little stoicism, all right?
It's true. It's
Let's
true.
go. Let's.
I really do.
Don't
I love
complain. One of our guests is from Canada today, so you have no right to complain. And it's currently snowing at his home.
That's right. You're right. I don't have to complain. See, sometimes I need a mindset shift. That's for sure.
Yeah, there you go. You need a checkup from the neck up, Tommy.
That's it, man. That's all it is. It's a checkup from the neck up. I like that.
You never heard that one? Okay.
No, but that's a good one.
Frank Scalisi, one of my mentors, he used to use that. He'd be like, this guy needs a checkup from the neck up.
Oh, and Shell's shouting at me from the audience. Get above the line. Get above the line.
See?
There you go, Shell. Absolutely. I'll get above the line. Let's go. Let's rock and roll. Let's enjoy the cold weather. All right.
All right, so let's get going. So we have our two guests here, Oforma and Ross. If you've listened before, you know the drill. If you're in the live chat with us, thank you. I see Shell there. Thank you very much. We'll answer any of your questions. So, Shell, if you have a quick, brief question, you can put one in there and we'll get to that as well. So the way this goes, our members of Project 2740 who are using our 5WH system get an opportunity to ask us questions, and we will hopefully be able to give them some useful answers. So we're going to go Oforma and then Ross. But before we do that, I'm going to have you guys both introduce yourselves. So, Oforma, let everybody know who you are, what you do, and where they can find you if they're interested in getting connected to you.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, guys, for having me. Hi, everyone. My name is Oforma, and I'm a business analyst consultant. I help 6 to 8 figure businesses find issues with their systems, their tech stack, and I fix them. So you can find me on LinkedIn, Oforma Chineke. Just search for me on the LinkedIn search. You'll find me there, smiling, big white smile. Looking forward to connecting with you.
You know, I would change one thing there for you. You don't help 6 to 8 figure businesses. You help 7 figure businesses become 8 figure businesses, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
I mean, that's kind of the role that you play with a lot of these companies. And don't worry, we'll put all the links and everything in our show notes, and our editors are good, so they'll put the whole thing up on the screen in the lower third there. All right, Ross, who are you? What do you do, and how can they find you? Oh, he hit his mute on his mic again.
There we go. My take two. This isn't live, is it?
Yeah.
My name is Ross Lawrence. I'm originally from Sydney, Australia, and I now call downtown Los Angeles home. I own a creative production agency called Studio and Commerce. We specialize in lifestyle communities, and we merge creative storytelling with strategic result-driven solutions. You can find me on LinkedIn, probably wearing this hat, at Ross Lawrence, and then also on Instagram at Ross Lawrence Studio.
Yeah, and if you're not watching, his hat says creative department. So we know Ross is a huge creative.
Yeah. This is the international show. We got Australia and Canada in the house.
Yeah, look at
Australia
that.
by way of LA. So, all right. So, Oforma, you're up first. So, what question do you have for me and Tom?
Okay, so I've been loving the 5W system, and it's just been a massive game changer for me, especially on my LinkedIn. It's been able to help me create content and also figure out what will appeal to people. But I'm curious, at what point should I update or change my 5WH system?
This is a great question.
That's a great question.
Yeah, Tom and I were just talking about this. Tom and I are going through our own course. We're being trained on something. We got a really nice education on something. And what we realized, because Tom and I take these courses together, we take some notes and then we kind of debrief on what we thought. And what we realized is, in one section of this, is that, you know what a wonderful thing is that, you know, our 5Ws are locked in. All right? Yours are pretty new still, but ours are locked in. But here's what happens. As you are using those 5Ws in your prospecting, and more specifically in your nurturing and appointment setting, you will start to find these people telling you the same things over and over and over again. And if you're hearing that same either problem they're having or solution they're looking for, or any major thing that's holding them back from taking the next level, if you hear that repetitively, you may say, you know what, I probably should add this into my workbook for the 5Ws. So the market usually does not lie, Oforma. And when you're seeing these patterns of like, wow, I'm hearing the same thing over and over and over again, that's an indicator to you that, all right, you know what, let me start leaning into that. You're not going to change everything else. You're going to add to this, okay? You're going to innovate, not replace. All right, so does that give you at least an idea of when you would update them, not change them?
Yeah, it makes
Okay.
sense. So listen to the market.
Always. I mean, look, they're the ones buying, not us, right? Right? We want to sell things to people. We want to connect with people. We want to solve problems for people. But if we're doing all those just because we like them and nobody's buying, that's also proof that you probably should change something, okay?
Yeah.
Now, anything that you do, I would give it 90 days before you change anything, right? Because you want to really test it out. If we start adding too many variables into something, then we don't know which of those changes made the effect in the positive or the negative. So I'm always a huge fan. Do something for 90 days. Like Tom and I have changed our social media, which actually you'll see starting next Monday on the 9th, December 9th, depending on when this was aired. But on December 9th, you'll see a new format of social media on my channel. We are committed to doing that for 90 days. After 90 days, then we'll decide if we're going to do this long term, but we're not going to deviate during that 90-day plan. We're going to follow the plan of action, the people that we hired, take their advice, do the social media the way they said, and then we'll get knowledge during those 90 days of what we should do more of, do less of, improve, get rid of, add, all these different variables. We'll know because we kept everything at a constant. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. So what you're doing during this process is starting to keep notes. If you're seeing the same things over and over again, you can start noting like, wow, why people need me? I've heard this thing 3 times now. Okay. And then you'll be like, I've heard it 7 times. I've heard it 17 times. I've heard this 98 times. All right. Time to update it, right? But wait for the 90 days to do that, because if you just jump in, it could be a fad. It could be the season, it could be the economy. It could be any other thing. Okay.
Yeah. Right. Makes sense.
I think the beauty of the system is it really, and Adam's, his 2023 project was to have pattern recognition and, to notice more patterns. And I think 5W8 as a system allows for better pattern recognition in the people that you're selling to, the people that you're helping, when they need you, why they need you, where you find them. Does that stuff change? Because that stuff will evolve as you evolve. So it's not this finite one and done system. And because in the 4.5 years Adam and I have been doing this, it has been a constant evolution of the 5 Ws and making sure that we keep looking at, okay, who really are our clients? Where are they really? Why do they need us? When do they need us? And we start to pick up common patterns, and that's how you evolve. Ultimately, you evolve your product, but only when you've seen it happen for a certain period of time, like we say with the 90-day commitment to it, then you can go back to the drawing board and be like, okay, this is what we need to do right now. And then that changes everything. And this is why you should be looking at this almost as every 90 days as a quarterly plan, so to speak, right? Go back to your 5 Ws. Do they still make sense based on the patterns and all the things that you've seen? And make the adjustments you need to make, but make it for the next 90 days and see what changes. Make sense?
Makes sense. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Adam.
All right, Mr. Lawrence. How are you, pal?
I think my question's more specifically around resilience and how you, as coaches, like obviously, I've been working with you guys for a year now. I've moved through the community onto one-on-one. Obviously, I'm coming into my 2nd year, looking to, obviously, you've witnessed my growth over that year. And then I'm really looking forward to 2025 and the potential of that future growth. How, what advice could you give me on how to continue to build resilience? And what do you guys do as coaches to continue to build that resilience in your business?
I'm going to let Tom take this first. Okay. But yeah. I don't know if you know this, Ross. Your anniversary is coming up. It's 12/12. That's your anniversary.
There you go.
Did you know that?
I'm going to go buy a lottery ticket.
There you go.
I think I actually have a video of me having an emotional breakdown on probably 11/12. Stored on my phone that I do reference occasionally when I'm wanting to check on my progress.
So Ross, my question for you is what you have accomplished over the last year.
Sure.
Where would you say your resilience has developed, and what helped you to develop that?
I think consistency, that has really helped me develop a resilience. I've obviously had a lot of small wins, which have definitely helped me build resilience, but I don't know if it's my personality to expect the worst, right? So, everything's going well and everything's tracking in the right direction. I'm sure at some point in the future, I will come up against an answer that I don't like, whether it's a no of a big contract or, an opportunity that didn't sort of show itself in the way that I necessarily planned or hoped for. So I suppose it's how do you continue to sort of consistently build resilience while you're being coached?
I think there's a lot of ways, and I know Adam's going to probably go to our book and talk about grit a bit. He's already got the book open. And I'm going to start with this because it's the three things that you've said in your answer. Whenever we start working with a client, one of the things I often say to them is there's three simple rules that you have to follow to be successful in what you're doing. Number one, you have to show up consistently. Right? You have to show up for yourself consistently. You have to show up to your work consistently, and you have to develop the consistency to doing all of that. The second rule is do the work. And if you do the work, then the next thing is pretty simple. It's trust the process. That is what's going to build the resiliency over and over. That is what's going to give you the formula for continuing to build grit, perseverance, and build the resilience that you need, because that is the thing that has worked already for you. But it's a simple rule. Show up consistently, do the work, trust the process. When we do that over and over and we're slacking, if we're doing something, we're not showing up consistently. If we're slacking, we're not doing the work. And if we're not doing the work, then we really can't trust that anything's going to come from the effortlessness that we're putting into this, right? It goes back to our CEO mindset, right? It's commitment, effort, obsession. You have to be obsessed about it to put the commitment in. And then once you have the commitment, you can put the effort into all of it. So it's all the same. There's always three main ingredients that we're looking for, whether you want to apply show up consistently, do the work, or trust the process, or you want to embrace our CEO mindset of commitment, effort, and obsession. That's how you start to really build the resilience and keep it going. Adam, I'm going to turn it over to you, man.
I can really only add to, and these are our words, right? This is our book, The Atomic Game Changer. Here you go, if you want to buy it. Amazon. What we look at resilience as is grit. Okay, it's grit. And I'm just going to give you the end of the chapter of what we wrote here. Grit. This is achieved through consistency in fulfilling the mission through a service mindset. It entails showing up every day with the belief that the mission is not about you, but about something greater than oneself. A mindset of creating, not consuming, is integral to achieving grit. So it's much of what Tom just said, but what I always take away from this, and you asked how are we more resilient, what I take away from this and how I do it is I realize that I am not here for me. In this moment, I'm here for the two of you. When I cooked dinner earlier today, I was there for my family. And yes, when I go to the gym, I am there for me, but I'm doing that so I could do all this thing for everybody else. If you come at almost everything that you do from a service mindset, that allows you to have grit. That allows you to have resilience, because most of us, especially business owners, we always kind of put ourselves on the back of the burner, right? And it's like we come second because we're taking care of everybody else. But if we're struggling to get through and doing something, and you start to look at, well, who am I actually doing this for? There will be a picture that comes in your head of a face, right? It will just happen. If I ask both of you right now to just imagine for a moment, who are you building this business for? You could probably see something, whether they're not even real. It could be future children. It could be a wife. It could be a friend. It could be to get my dad to pat me on the back. It could be anything. But there's something that you're doing these things for that is most likely outside of you. And that's why when I struggle with it, I start to think of like, well, who the heck am I doing this for? And guess what? If a picture doesn't pop in my head, I usually stop doing it.
Good answer.
I just want to point out something Shell put in the comments. So she said 1212 is a sign that you have worked hard and reached a crucial point in your process, but there is still more to go. Now, I don't know, Ross, did you know I'm a huge fan of numerology?
Yeah,
because I am, right?
I do know you're pretty woo-woo.
Yeah, pretty woo. That's me, Tom the woo-woo. But yes, but it's all about nothing is coincidental.
Sure.
Okay, everything happens the way it's supposed to happen, and you've gotten to this point because you have put the energy in, and you're a totally different guy than the guy we know from 12-12-23. Okay, very different person, and we're extremely proud of all the work that you've done and seen what your growth. But the bottom line is that this was already put into motion because you already have it within you. You don't have to develop it; you already have it. And that's the beauty of this, is that we often ask for things or we seek to do more because we're just looking to validate that it exists because we're experiencing it. You've experienced a year of resilience. You have experienced a year of commitment to taking your company from $28,000 to into the six figures. Okay? I mean, that is the resilience. If that doesn't motivate you to keep going, I don't know what will. But like Adam said, all of us are in this service mindset. We are service providers. And when we are in that service mindset, that's what has to keep us going. Adam and I we have the funnest job in the freaking world, from my perspective. We're working right now. This is our work. This is ridiculously fun. And that's what makes it. But it's about service to all of you and the people that are going to listen to this podcast and the people that we record this for every single week. And we have recorded over almost now 90 podcast episodes over the last 2 years because we are in service to other people. So that's what keeps us. But we show up consistently every Friday morning. We drop a podcast and we're there. And we've done that now for almost 2 full years. So that's what's helped us. But we've always done it for you and for everybody else who listens.
You know how many weeks we missed, Ross?
0.
Yeah. That's it. You just gotta, at the end of that chapter of the book, what we say is, what does this all really mean? Get to work. That's what we say. Just get to work.
Yeah, I mean, I do definitely wake up some morning with your voice in my head.
I'm so sorry, Ron.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, if that's the effect and it gets me out of bed, then so be it, right?
Hey.
Like, that's just...
It's awesome.
I'm going to turn the tables on you for a moment, Ross, since we have you here, because for 2024, you are our most successful Project 2740 member.
Sure.
From where you started to where you are today. And it's kind of only the beginning, as we've realized in our one-on-one work, this is kind of the beginning of the next 10 years of your life. And it's really incredible that you now have the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm hoping maybe you could share with is remove out Adam and Tom. Okay. Remove out that we're here coaching you and,
sure.
and that you went through a system and you have this guidance. What is really the thing that you think has allowed you to go from where you were to where you are now?
I mean, obviously, I've been a photographer for 20 years. So if I looked at my product and the service of my product, I'm obviously at a stage in my career where that's dialed into a point, right? Like I know I can go and execute a client's deliverables. Obviously, if we talked about the branding and the prospecting and all that stuff, that's a very different story. But I think I just got to a stage in my career where I knew that I needed help. I work with an addiction recovery center, and I sort of look at it the same as addiction. Like you have to want the help. You have to be at a position in your life. Like everyone has a different rock bottom. I had really hit my rock bottom, and I knew that, traditional routes of like therapy and books and podcasts, like I'd done all that. I needed, that sort of intensive, hardcore, 30-day rehab, intensive outpatient treatment to solve a lot of the issues that I was having. So yeah, that's pretty much.
I mean, I appreciate it, but you missed the whole point. Take that out of it. I thought you were going down another path there. If you take that part out of it.
Yeah.
Right? You did that. And I'm very proud of you for doing it. And by the way, when he says he works with a recovery and addiction facility, meaning he does their content, not he is a member there. So just to clarify that. So what I mean is like you've gotten all this knowledge, you've attended all the courses, you show up to the meetings, you do the work. When you're on your own, what has allowed you to have this success now?
I think it's trusting myself. And
I'm going to interrupt. The reason I'm asking you is I'm hoping that you can shed some wisdom on the rest of the group or other people who are aspiring to be where you're at, So maybe they could look at, all right, is that something I need to embrace or I need to do? So I apologize I interrupted.
Yeah, no, I think definitely trusting myself and knowing that if I just, put my head down and do the work, then the results will come. It has been at times throughout the year, it's felt like it's sort of moving in slow motion, but then now I look back and, like I'm actually excited for next year because I know I can push harder. Like if this is what it was, then I know I've got more in me next year. So yeah, I think just getting in and doing the work and not being afraid of hard work. I was lucky that I was raised, with that hard work mentality. There was plenty of times when I first started that, I was working 40 hours a week, waking up at 4 a.m., doing some work, going to work full time, coming home, doing the work, working on Saturdays and Sundays, sometimes for free to learn lessons and make mistakes. So there was definitely periods where I didn't have a sort of a social life, and it was pretty tough and dark, but there was sort of light at the end. So I think you sort of also have to not be afraid of, putting in hard work.
Well, it's funny. I was reviewing your original intake form, and that's how I knew it was December 12th. I was actually looking at it earlier today. And one of the things you said in there is, one of the questions we asked is, what can you give to this to have success if you were to hire us as coaches? And you said, I'm a hard worker. That's what you said. As we've gotten to know you very well, we consider Ross a friend, not just a client of ours. And the thing has become that you always do the work, but you have shared that you've always done the work your whole life, as you're saying. I mean, this is it's something that's been instilled with you. But now what you said here is you learn to trust that hard work. The key that we have always said to people who have joined Project 2740 or have gone through our 5WH system in one way, shape, or form, one-on-one, or in any other variety of ways we do it, is that you already have all the answers. Okay, you already know everything. All we really help to do is pull that stuff out of you. And when you finally have the ability to trust yourself, you can start coaching yourself. Not a very good commercial for Atomic Business Coaching, but you actually don't need us. Okay, you have to have that trust in yourself that when you carry these things out and go through them, that there will be a result. Will it be positive? I don't know. Will it be negative? Possibly. But there will be a result. And that's most of the time what we see in people is they're just so nervous to go and do that work and trust themselves to carry something out that they get very skeptical. And Tom, what are the sabotaging behaviors that usually are attached to people not being able to trust themselves? What are those?
Well, I mean, it's all a lot of confidence stuff, but the biggest ones are the pleaser, because you don't know how to put yourself first, so therefore you don't trust that you're doing the right things. It's the avoider that doesn't allow you to trust yourself. It's the victim that doesn't allow you to trust yourself.
That's the logical one.
That's the hyper-rational. That's the hyper-rational.
Because that one, the hyper-rational, when I look at it, is everything has to make sense.
Correct.
Right? But trust doesn't make sense.
No, trust is blind.
Okay, exactly. So trust is just saying, okay, wherever this takes me, this journey, this course, this coaching, this client, this marriage proposal, this having a baby, whatever it is, you're just trusting that, okay, I will work on it. Not it will work out, but I will work on it. So, my brother, I can't commend you more for the work you've put in, and I'm so happy. I'm very impressed, but I'm not surprised that you have gotten to this point.
Yep. I mean, we knew when we met you, the very first time we met you, because it wasn't 12/12. It was way before that, before we even started working together. When we met you, we saw so much potential, and you have executed on that the entire year. And that's why you are where you are and why you can keep going forward. Right? There's no doubt in my mind that we're not going to double, potentially triple your business next year.
I mean, I also think I've always had a keen interest in entrepreneurship, right? Ever since I was young, I've always enjoyed the idea of business. I just never knew how to do it, right? So I think that's also been, a really big benefit of coaching is by being led by two people that have done it before. Because I have tried and things haven't worked out, and then I kind of gave up and, beat myself up. So, yeah, that's also been a big part of it.
All right, I know we're running over time, and we are going to jump in there in a minute, but I wanna talk to Oforma about something as well, because we're talking about trust and doing the work. And one thing I have known of Oforma, because Oforma came to me about the same time, December of last year. He didn't come into our group until only a few months ago. But throughout that time, he was always putting in the work. And he does have a lot of trust in certain things. But Oforma, you weren't born in Canada, were you?
No, I was not.
Okay. How did you go from where you were to where you are now geographically that's allowing you to be where you are with yourself and the work? How did you have the trust? And if you want to maybe share a brief story about that, how did you have the trust to be able to do that?
I've always betted on myself, because there was really no mentor or there was no one to show me the ropes. I knew where I wanted to go. I didn't know how to get there. So while I was in Nigeria, one of the first things I told myself was, I think it was a podcast I watched, Patrick Bet-David, I believe, the 50 next moves of the Grandmaster, I believe. That was in 2019. So when I saw it, I was like, okay, so this guy gets me. This is exactly what I need to do. And obviously I was thinking to myself, like, I can't achieve this if I'm where I am. So I need to start making moves. At the time, I had failed at my 5th business and I was like really broke. So I knew I had to start pitching myself more. I took out a loan from a friend. I pitched myself to an executive. He gave me a project. I aced it. I started saving up money, got a side gig, grew the side gig to about equivalent of $10,000 in about 6 months. Well, fast forward everything, I'm here. So, but a lot of hurdles. And then I started putting myself out there because I didn't believe I was using LinkedIn the way LinkedIn was supposed to be used. Back when I was in Nigeria, I believe Jasmine Alik said something about he hates the fact that people discriminate people from Nigeria and India because they don't really engage. So I didn't want to find myself in that, I knew that LinkedIn could be so much more. So I just needed the people. And then fast forward to meeting Danny Del Vecchio. And then he talked about you and Tom. And I was like, okay, these guys seem cool. So, I reached out to you and we started talking. We talked about a number of things. We became friends. And then when I started talking to you, I just told myself, this guy gets me. And, I wanted to put in the work and I'm here.
I'm glad the way you presented that because it puts this entire conversation, it wraps it up nice in a bow because you had the trust, okay, in the fact that you would do the work and have the grit, the resilience. No matter what, you're going to do the work. And you always have your entire life, haven't you, my friend?
Yeah.
And you still are today. And I watch you each and every time you're in sessions with us or on the DMs with me or anything. Like, you are resilient, man. And it's probably because you went the other way. You had the trust first in yourself and in the mission and in the vision that you were trying to accomplish. So, man, it's really been a pleasure over this last year to get to know both of you gentlemen, to work for you guys and watch that you're actually using what we are lucky enough to have the ability to do, use that and take that and change your lives and your businesses. So, Tom, how do you want to wrap it up here?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, both of you, for being here tonight. It was great to have an international crew, which was kind of fun for the first time to do that. But we're going to jump back into our regular Q&A session with the rest of the members of Project 2740. And hey, listen, if you're listening, if something inspired you about tonight, or you're a business owner and you're struggling through your day-to-day and you want to change your life around and learn more about the 5WH system, we're here for you. So just reach out to us at atomicbusinesscoaching.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the flip side.